In the 7th century, the Byzantine Empire was an unmatched superpower. In the heart of the Levant stood the impenetrable fortress of Ajnadain, commanded by a ruthless and brilliant general named Artabun. He sat safely behind massive walls, waiting for the advancing Muslim army. The Muslim forces were led by a man legendary for his cunning and strategic mind, Amr ibn al-Aas. Upon reaching the fortress, Amr knew brute force would fail against such defenses. He needed inside information. He needed to know the layout, the guard rotations, and how his enemy thought. So he made a decision only a master tactician would dare to make. If you want an impossible mission done right, do it yourself. Disguised in the simple garments of a lowly envoy, Amr walked straight into the lion's den. He passed through heavily armed guards and stood face to face with Artabun in his throne room. As they spoke, Artabun tried to intimidate the simple messenger. But Amr remained terrifyingly calm. He negotiated smoothly, his eyes secretly scanning the room, counting the guards, and noting every vulnerability of the fortress. Artabun, a fox in his own right, noticed something was wrong. He looked into the envoy's eyes and saw a chilling intelligence and unshakable confidence. The realization hit him like lightning. This was no mere messenger. This was the mastermind himself, Amr ibn al-As, standing right in front of him. Artabun hid his shock behind a cold smile. He decided to decapitate the enemy army without drawing a single sword. He leaned in and whispered a secret order in his native tongue to his most trusted guard. Go to the outer gate. When this man finishes speaking and walks out, strike his neck immediately. Do not let him see the sun again. The guard rushed out. In that split second, Amr's survival instincts flared. He caught the subtle whisper. He saw the gleam of betrayal and sudden arrogance in the general's eyes. Amr instantly realized his cover was blown, and his execution awaited him at the door. Panic meant death. Drawing a weapon was suicide. He had only one weapon left: psychological manipulation. Without missing a beat, his tone completely unchanged, Amr looked at the general and spoke with casual confidence. Commander, your terms are generous. But you must understand, I am not alone. Our leader does not make decisions without consulting his top advisors. I am merely one of 10 senior commanders sent to lead this army. My word alone cannot bind us to an agreement. Artabun's eyes narrowed. Amr stepped closer and dropped the ultimate bait. What if I return to my camp right now and bring the other 9 commanders back with me tomorrow? They are the brains of our army. You can present your offer to all of us, and we will seal the pact together. Greed instantly blinded the Byzantine general. He thought to himself, if I kill this man now, they will realize the trap and attack blindly out of revenge. But if I let him go, he will bring me the 10 most important leaders of their army. I will execute them all at once and crush their entire forces in a single stroke. Intoxicated by the illusion of a perfect victory, Artabun smiled. He quickly signaled another guard and whispered, Run to the gate. Cancel the execution. Let him pass safely. Amr walked out of the throne room, down the dark corridors, and past the drawn swords that were thirsting for his blood just moments before. He stepped out of the main gate and breathed the air of freedom. He had walked into a death trap, gathered all the intelligence he needed, and convinced the enemy to hold the door open for him on his way out. The next day, Artabun waited for the 10 commanders. Instead, he heard the drums of war. Amr attacked, exploiting every weakness he had memorized. Artabun finally realized he had been outsmarted in the most humiliating way possible. When the news of this legendary psychological victory reached the Caliph, he smiled with pride and said his famous words, We have thrown the Artabun of the Arabs against the Artabun of the Romans. If you appreciate the brilliance of historical masterminds, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel before we dive into our next tale of absolute cunning. Imagine being surrounded by an unstoppable coalition army of 10,000 warriors. You have only 3,000 men, exhausted, starving, and trapped behind a massive defensive trench. To make matters worse, a powerful faction inside your own city has secretly made a deal with the enemy. They are about to attack you from within, catching you in a deadly crossfire. Annihilation seemed certain, but the course of history was changed by a single man who understood that the deadliest weapon is a planted thought. A man from the attacking coalition secretly slipped into the defending camp under the cover of darkness. He had a change of heart and offered his sword to the defending commander. But the commander didn't ask him to fight. He looked at the man and said, "You are only one sword among thousands. Fighting will not save us. Go back, conceal your true allegiance, and tear them apart from the inside. For war is deception." The man, a master of words, and a trusted friend to both sides of the enemy alliance, began his psychological warfare. First, he visited the faction inside the city, the ones planning to betray the defenders. He sat with their leaders and warned them as a concerned friend. The coalition outside has nothing to lose. If they fail to breach the trench, they will simply pack up and return to their lands, leaving you alone to face the wrath of the defenders. Do not join their attack until you demand their top nobles as hostages. This will guarantee they won't abandon you. The inside faction, terrified of being left behind, agreed to this demand. Immediately after, the man slipped out of the city and went straight to the leaders of the attacking coalition. He wore a mask of deep concern and whispered to them, "I bring terrible news. The faction inside the city has betrayed you. They have made a secret pact with the defenders to earn their forgiveness. To prove their loyalty, they plan to ask you for your nobles as hostages, only to hand them over to be executed. If they ask for hostages, do not give them a single man." The seed of paranoia was planted. Now, it was time to watch it grow. The next morning, the coalition leaders sent a message to the faction inside the city. "The time has come. Attack them from the inside, and we will breach the trench." The inside faction replied exactly as manipulated. "We will not fight until you send us your nobles as hostages to ensure you do not abandon us." The coalition leaders froze. The spy was right. They sent a furious reply, "We will never give you a single man." When the inside faction heard this, they also froze. The spy was right. The coalition was planning to abandon them. Within hours, the massive, terrifying alliance completely shattered. Trust turned into bitter hatred. Without the inside attack, the coalition lost their strategy and their morale. A fierce winter storm hit their camp a few days later, and the mighty army of 10,000 packed their tents and fled in the night. A siege that was meant to end in a bloodbath was completely broken, not by a clash of swords or a rain of arrows, but by a single man who knew how to turn an enemy's greatest strength into their greatest weakness, using nothing but words. These two historical events leave us with one absolute truth. Brute force, numbers, and raw power are completely useless if the mind is easily manipulated. In a world that constantly pushes you to react blindly, to act on temporary emotions, and to show off your strength, the true mastermind does the exact opposite. Notice how neither of these men used a sword to achieve their victories. They didn't panic when the odds were completely stacked against them. Instead, they used the enemy's own greed, fear, and paranoia as their weapons. They understood that the human mind is the ultimate battlefield. If you can plant the right thought, or maintain your absolute composure under immense pressure, you can dismantle entire empires from the inside out. The ultimate lesson here is about mental fortitude. When you find yourself cornered, overwhelmed by the chaos of life, or facing an opponent who seems invincible, do not rush into a mindless battle. Take a step back. Master your emotions, filter out the noise and distractions, and look for the loophole. Because in the end, the greatest battles aren't won by the strongest hands, but by the calmest and sharpest minds. Thank you for watching.